Welcome back to another episode of The Bourbon Lens. This is Jake along with Scott, and this episode is just important to me as an individual. Today we are joined by Eric LeGrand and Brian Axelrod of LeGrand Bourbon. Eric and Brian, thanks for joining The Bourbon Lens.
Appreciate you having us.
Well, I would be remiss if we didn't talk about football first, right? Because if you don't know Eric's story, simply Google it. We won't get into the details here. But Eric, you've launched your own podcast, and one of your first guests was Michael Strahan. That was awesome. Loved listening to that as a defensive lineman. I looked up to Michael. He was way better than I would ever be. So what's it been like, life after football and just creating all these brands and the synergy for you?
It's been a journey. Obviously, my injury happened 12 and a half years ago. So,
yeah,
I was just figuring out my niche throughout these years. Whether if it started with motivational speaking and then becoming an author. I always wanted to be a sports broadcaster, so I really got into that from the very beginning. But as time was going on, I launched a foundation because I wanted to be able to give back to the community team, LeGrand, the Christopher and Dana Reed Foundation. And my mind is always spinning. I had a good line that I like to use. I may be sitting down, but I can't sit still. And I'm always doing something different. And during the pandemic really changed my mindset when everything got taken away from what I do, broadcasting, motivational speaking, events. What was I going to do? So I put my mind forward, pivoted, try to find a way to bring people together and have a cause behind everything that I do. And I look for things that people enjoy on a daily basis.
Yeah. And so you're not just a man of whiskey, but you are and a man behind a podcast. You also have a very successful coffee brand. What else have you dipped your toe into from a brand perspective, just so everybody can get a swath of knowledge of what you've kind of put out into the marketplace?
But it's my three main projects. Obviously, there's more because I still have the foundation, which is number 4, and I partnered up with Gio Baker to help NIL athletes at Rutgers and trying able to grow that brand as well. But for the most part, my day-to-day stuff is coffee and whiskey, and when I have events for my foundation, and then when I get the opportunity to record podcasts, we did 6 for our first season. So it's been a lot of fun. But my day-to-day is coffee, whiskey, and whenever I have a foundation event, grinding at that.
No, that's awesome. And to create this whiskey brand, you brought on an industry veteran in Brian. And Brian just gave us his elevator pitch beforehand. For those people who don't know Brian, can you just quickly go over that elevator pitch again for our listeners, just so they can get a background?
No, for sure. But I love how Eric tells us he's got 2 things and he rambles off seven different things.
He's just a little busy.
He's like, I got 2 things, and I just says 7. I've been, as I was saying, in my whole adult life, I've been in the wine and spirits game. Pretty much done it all: sales rep, management. Worked at a distributor. Worked at some major suppliers like your Bacardi or Beam. And then I guess before Eric and I launched this bourbon, I helped launch Douce Cognac with Jay-Z and his team. Worked there for 6.5 years. They acquired Armand de Brignac, which is known as Ace of Spades Champagne. So I worked on that for a little bit while I was there. Got tossed into the music industry. Went on I think 6 music tours where we were running VIP lounges and just pushing the brand, which Eric dabbled in. He was there.
Quite a few
concerts.
Yeah.
Quite a few times.
But then in my time over there, I had the pleasure of meeting Conor McGregor and his team, and they brought me on to partner and launched Proper Number 12 in 2018. And that was like a rocket ship that would last 3 years, where I got fully acquired by Proximo. And that allowed me to, figure out what was my next step. And that was Eric and I have been talking about doing something for a while. So I hit him up and said, all right, let's go. It's time.
Yeah. And what better industry to get into than bourbon and whiskey, right? That is exploding. You sell what was happening with Irish whiskey, right? With Proper Number 12, and the amount of money that sold for, at the multiple it sold for, was nothing short of amazing.
Yeah, no, listen, and when Eric first reached out to me, I said, and he's like, I want to maybe get into this, into the beverage game. I'm like, all right, well, you and everybody else, of course you do. You see all these, like you said, the multiples, all these sales. But I've been, my eyes have seen a lot of failures in my day. So I'm aware that it's not that easy. It's not just, reading these headlines. But I told him I want to sleep on it and let me think about it. And it took me one night. I hit him up the next day and I'm like, you know what? No one says no to you. Like if we can get this charity ball, which Eric will get into a little bit more, I think we're onto something. And I think we can do some big things, not only within in the space, but also for his charity.
Mm. Yeah. And we'll get into that in a second. So Eric, like, had you got into whiskey or bourbon, prior to this conversation, or where was your head at from a spirits perspective?
I love to tell the story. When I was in my lower 20s, I'm not going to lie, I used to rip shots of Jack. And I was out at the bars and stuff like that. And I don't know why. People ask me, like, what type of drink are you? Like, do you like it neat? Like it on the rocks, old fashioned? Cocktails. I'm like, give me a shot. Just give me shots. And that's how I handle it. And probably my lower 20s was definitely into whiskey. And then I got a little bit older, into my upper 20s. I started to drink tequila. And, going out with that and, exploring in that age and obviously slipping into vodka here and there. But then you get into your 30s, I feel like life changes and you become a real adult. And, and like life just, you celebrate victories too. And Brian and I are like, whiskey, you enjoy it and it fits who you are, your personality and what you do and what you believe in. And it takes time to make it, and precision can't happen overnight. And the same thing with my recovery. It doesn't happen overnight. So that's kind of how we got into this. And Brian's telling me, hey, don't drink too much of it, but it's very good.
Yeah. I told him this is a marathon. Don't go out there to hitting the bars every night and every weekend. We got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I mean, we can't have drinking while driving. Eric.
The first year, remember first year to have fun.
Yeah. Hey, you got to celebrate the brand, right? You got to celebrate the launch and bringing people together. And, one of the things you mentioned, and Scott and I talk about this all the time in the podcast, is whiskey brings people together. And you are a gatherer of people. That's what it seems like from what I've read and just kind of watching your podcast that you launched. What's it like to be able to share a drink that you helped craft and bring to light and to bring people together around that idea?
It's awesome, honestly, because that's what I believe in. That you're genuine. What you see is what you get with me. I don't put on a front for anybody, and it brings people around you. They want to, like, the energy radiates to people. They want to be around you. And then if you have a beverage that they enjoy, they want to be around you even more, and they want to know more about the brand and what's next and where it's going. And you get people to believe in that as well. And then when you're out, you're having a great time with each other and people come up to you. It's the biggest compliment. Yes, I'm new to this game and Brian has been in it for a while, but to see the people's reaction when they drink the whiskey, it's funny, like, Eric, this is actually good stuff. This bourbon is like, it's going down really smooth. And I'm like, yeah, we got it. We hit a home run there.
Yeah. And so, bourbon and whiskey is something that obviously we're passionate about and telling the stories behind it. So how did you go about, there's, Brian, maybe this is a question for you. Obviously, the spirits game, and in the world of whiskey, a lot of people just go to Lawrenceburg, Indiana, and that's where they get their stuff. So what was your idea to make it a Kentucky straight bourbon? Like as you all kind of had these conversations, why do it something a little bit different from a passion project perspective?
Well, yeah, it brought me back kind of to my days over at Beam, and appreciating the times that we got to, visit, whether it be the Beam distillery makers and stuff like that. Even, my time eating with Fred Noe and all that stuff. So I had some great memories and great experiences. I was at Beam for probably like 3.5, almost 4 years. So learned a good amount about Kentucky. I'm not going to lie. There's also, I know there's from a marketing angle too, where people see when they hear bourbon, it's in my mind, it's better to be from Kentucky than anywhere else. If I'm being honest, but I also do believe that when people say, they're always trying to come back, but bourbon doesn't have to be made in Kentucky. It can be made anywhere. I'm like, true, but the best bourbon in my mind, comes from Kentucky. So it was important for us to find some liquid and find some juice from Kentucky. As you just mentioned, there's a lot of small brands, heading the route of Indiana. There's actually one that did pretty well, I think, yesterday. There's
from New Jersey.
From New Jersey. Yeah. Exactly. I was quick to send that. I was quick to send that article to Eric.
Yeah. Shout out to the Penelope team. Not a lot of New Jersey bourbon folks happening, but that's cool. Hey, small circles. It's good to have people near you.
Exactly.
People noticing. They're noticing.
Yeah,
for sure. So going back to it, as we were searching, it was important for me that if we're gonna do a bourbon, and then obviously future products that we can put Kentucky on there, and it still blows my mind that when we're out here pitching this product, that we can turn that bottle around and say, hey, is this still in Owensboro and bottled in Bardstown? Every time I say it, I say it with pride.
Mm. Yeah, and I would say that with pride too. If I had a brand, I'd say it with my chest, because Scott has Scott's got an affinity for Kentucky bourbon.
Oh yeah, I'm a little partial, but I mean, yeah, well, definitely a great choice.
And it gives you a lot of opportunities, right? Like, we won't call out who produces what, but if you can kind of put two and two together, right? Owensboro and Bardstown. With their expansion and growth, it gives you all a lot of opportunities to do different things, right? So to find a good partner like that at the beginning is good for your all's potential growth as you will go out and tell your story of Eric LeGrand Bourbon.
Yeah, in Bardstown, Brian tells me how it was just built in 2017. It's very modern. So I guess what that means, it's accessible. So I'm thinking about, how I can get around to certain places and knowing I can go right there where our bourbon is being bottled in.
Yeah.
Be able to get around comfortably and be able to see everything that's huge. And as you said, they're continuing to grow and expand, and it's just at a rapid rate, and we're excited about it.
Yeah. So that's an interesting thing. Like, I never thought about the ADA compliance part of it, right? Like the accessibility. And so when you were putting this together, did that kind of come up into play? Like, hey, I want to taste this. I want to be on the ground. I want to be a part of that. Like, was that ADA, compliance part something big to you?
Well, when Brian reached out to me and told me where we were going to partner with, he said it. They straight up told me, like, they just were built in 2017, so it's modern and you can get around it. So he, right off the bat, when this opportunity came about, he told me that this would be perfect for you to be able to get there and see, compared to just having to sit at home and relying on Brian to go out there all the time.
Yeah, no, that's good. So have you all been down to Bardstown yet?
Yeah, so I've been down there 3 times. We're waiting. Eric likes it when the weather's warm. He's a little pushy, so we gotta wait for summer to get him.
Why the hell does he live in New Jersey then?
Yeah, tell me about it. You want to know, my room is 80 degrees right now, and I have a heater that goes on. So to give a little bit of background on this, with a spinal cord injury, I'm about to educate the folks.
Okay.
With a spinal cord injury, at my level, I cannot regulate my body temperature. So the central nervous system is all jacked up. So for the most part, I'm cold, but also in extreme heat. I don't sweat. So I can literally just cook and cook and cook. So I can't be in the heat too long. But my ideal temperature, what I live at, is 75 to 85, and that's life for me.
Okay.
I mean, when it goes under 65 and all that, I'm staying in there. When it goes up in the 90s, I ain't going out. So that's my life. That's just how I have to live my life now with the spinal cord injury. But it's a little education for everybody. So pre-injury, Eric, I was hot all the time. So.
as every football player is.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
So your opportunity in Kentucky is coming up soon, and then you probably have to miss a few months over the summer, but the fall is nice here too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We got 73 today. It was really nice. Started the mornings off in the 60s, got up to the low 70s, and we'll get that for 3 more weeks, and then welcome hell. Welcome hell. Because it's gonna be humid and it's gonna be miserable.
That's Eric's weather.
I'll be okay for as long as I can get in the shade. I'll be all right.
Okay. Yeah. Well, the good thing is you can get right up to the front, roll right on in, and you'll be good to go. No pun intended there. Literally, you can get right to the very front of the distillery, and it's great.
They do a good job. And when I went there for our first bottling run, I had the opportunity to meet Mark Irwin, so the CEO of Bardstown, and he actually shared a story about him getting injured when he was serving in the Army, I believe. And he shared a story where he got injured. It was a spinal cord injury. He had to get some therapy and all that stuff. So when this project was near and dear to his heart and the people over at Bardstown, we couldn't have found a better partner. And I'm super, super excited to get Eric out there and just not only see the facility, but to meet the team.
Oh, for sure. And Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, but you've probably been to Kentucky before, because Rutgers and Louisville had a hell of a rivalry when you were playing.
2009, day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
We played at Louisville at 11 a.m. in the morning. So, yes, I remember. And it was cold out there. I remember that tight old locker room that was right under the bleachers.
Oh, yeah.
The stadium. And, yeah, so I got to come out to Louisville in 2009. And we played. I think we won that game, too. So that was cool.
Man, that was one of those things that, like, that's when, like, the Big East or whatever it was, like, all they did was play Thursday night games. And I felt like the Louisville-Rutgers game was always on Thursday night. And whether home or away, the blackouts and all that stuff was crazy.
The reason why I went to Rutgers.
Yeah, chopping wood.
2016, man. I was a recruit in that 2006 game. I was a junior year.
Yeah.
I was sitting front row at that game, and I'm like, where am I going? I live 20 minutes away from here. That was just amazing.
Yeah, and I guess we should educate the people, right? It is the State University of New Jersey, right? So if you don't know, it's not New Jersey State. It's not New Jersey, it is Rutgers. And there's your trivia question that comes up at every fifth trivia night that you go to.
That's awesome. Rutgers University.
Yeah. After the trivia, so let's get into the whiskey components, right? Because it's not just the base liquid that makes it special; it's the story behind it. So talk to me and tell the listeners how you've brought this to market and supporting the charitable work that you do.
Yeah, Brian and I came up with the idea. Brian, brought it to me, said, we should really make this a passion project. And he knows that everything I do, like I said earlier, it's for the purpose. So he said, we should be able to give money back to the Christopher and Dana Reed Foundation with this and come up with a cool concept. My number was 52. So he said, we're going to donate $5.20 from every case back to the Christopher Reed Foundation. And Brian's goal said, he told the CEO, Maggie Goldberg, that we're going to write the biggest check to the foundation that they've ever seen one day. And that's our passion behind it. And it's going to help the 5.6 million individuals that are dealing with some sort of paralysis in America and the 1.3 million from a spinal cord injury. Just give them hope. And that's why I try to use my platform, because unfortunately, not everyone's story gets to be told like mine.
I didn't realize how many people were dealing with these types of injuries. Like that's crazy.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, that just kind of puts life in perspective, because a lot of times it's probably here one day, change tomorrow. Can car accidents, obviously football, whatever, can come into that. Like it just makes you think. So
I don't cut you off, but Eric can tell a story too. There's also a misconception of there might be an accident or that. I mean, he has a buddy or a friend that he tells his story that it's just well, I'll let Eric take it from here, but it's not always an accident that leads to a spinal cord injury.
No, I've met after my injury, I was opened up to the real world. I always say I was stuck in my little bubble in Piscataway, New Jersey, when I was in college football, not knowing what was going on out there. And I met a good friend, Jermaine. I was 20 at the time when I got hurt. He was 22, so we hit it off right away. And I finally had the courage to ask him what happened to him, because I didn't know how to approach somebody. How do you ask somebody they were not in a wheelchair? So I was very genuine about it. And he told me his story, how he unfortunately had a tumor on his spine, and it was cancerous, and it was cutting off all the signals from his brain down to his lower extremities. And unfortunately, it spread more, and he was in and out of it. And then came back to check him out at therapy one day, and was told that he passed away over the weekend. So he didn't have an accident; he just had a tumor growing on his spine. So yeah, I was opened up to some real stuff during this.
Mm-hmm.
Still am.
Yeah, and I know we're here to talk about the whiskey, but it's always great to give people a platform, and this is where the story's taking us. So we're going there. What's it like? I can't think of how I would react this way in my 20s. Like, what did this make you do from a reality perspective to think differently about life? Because you talked about being open up to, the reality of this world. How did this make you as a 20-year-old think differently? Because I know what it's like to be an athlete. We live in this little bubble. We're protected. We're safe. And that bubble got cracked wide open for you. So how did that change your perspective on life?
I would say that I was definitely a reality check, but my support system, man, when I got hurt, it was on national TV. The outpouring of support really pushed me through. And I've always been the type of person if you rely on me to get something done, I got to do it. Like, I'll have that weird feeling in the back of my mind and head if it's my fault, the job doesn't get done. And then all of a sudden you get people from all over the world reaching out to you, wishing you well, praying for you. I'm like, How can I let all these people down? Then you start to meet other people that are in a similar situation. They have nobody. Families breaking up. They're there by themselves. Wearing the same clothes every day. Like, you start to see some real life adversity. And it makes you say, you know what? What do I have to complain about? Yes, this happened to me, but I'm doing awesome. And I have a great mom, family, and friends and teammates all around me. And some people got to go through this all alone. I can't imagine that.
Man, that's crazy. And like, we don't, I think a lot of times we take for granted, like when we have a good mom, a good dad, a good grandma, whatever, cousins, like, and like for you to speak highly of that, like, what's it been like what's it meant for you to have that support system, like your mom, and just like grind with you every day through this process?
Yeah, my mom is everything. She's all the behind the scenes stuff, running me around like crazy. I tell her I'm keeping her young. She's telling me I'm making her older. When all the mail comes in, she's like handling all the bills, like getting my medications, like all the behind the scenes stuff that people don't see.
Yeah.
The real life hero type of things. That's what she is. And I'm 32 years old now, so it's still not, we still bicker back and forth about 35 times a day. And my friends all laugh at it and like you guys are crazy because, she's always going to see me as her son. And I'm like, hey, listen, I'm a grown man. And then I got to, let her know that, hey, make my own decisions. And she gets it, but she's going to let me hear about it. She just has to let me hear about it. And I want to do my thing.
No, I mean, I think that's what people don't realize when these happen. Like it impacts everybody. It's your closest friends, your closest confidants that this impacts. And I'll go ahead and share with the listeners what I shared a little bit before this. Like, it impacted me in Kentucky, right? Like, we were playing, like, me and you were the exact same age. And so like when that happened, like I remember when it happened, practice was completely different the next day. Like it felt off. Like, we had a safety meeting. We had all these things. We literally middle of the season, you don't do this. We started tackling drills, like heads up tackling drills, like middle of the season. Like, it just changed the landscape of how we looked at it. And I remember I was part of Athletes in Action in college, and yeah. And, we huddled up and, we sent up a ton of prayers as a group of guys doing that. And actually, Tyler Stowell is the leader of AIA at Rutgers now. And Tyler was a good friend, met him out at Ultimate Training Camp. So, I know there's still good work from that perspective being done on campus, but, it impacted us all as that brotherhood, like I said earlier. And so, you never know when your story, whatever that story is, whether good or bad, how that's going to impact the thousands or millions of people that are in your sphere. Yeah.
See it on a daily basis when I'm out and about. People just continuing to show love, and they see what I'm going through, and it usually brightens their day. So
yeah,
I'm happy I could do that by just being me.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, and that's the other thing. Like, sometimes you can see through people's crap. Like, I can literally see, like, through all this, you are a just genuine person, and like that makes me happy. Like, as an individual, like, you just being genuine makes me happy.
Yeah, I mean, I said I made a promise to myself when I was in that bed when I was 20 years old in the hospital that don't let this injury change you. Before my injury, I was that happy-go-lucky, life of the party, never argue with anyone, had fun with my friends, messing with each other, knocking our books out of our hands like with our friends. But I was always the one that sticks up for someone that was, getting bullied. I always say, why not help pick somebody up to try to make them feel worse about whatever the situation they be going through. So that was what was before my injury, and I promised myself in that bed, don't let this injury change who you are and bring that brightness to people's life.
And now you're doing it with whiskey. And I poured a nice 2-finger pour myself, and I got a little left, so I didn't want to get up in the middle of the podcast and go.
You might need to get that 4-finger pour.
Got it
after show.
Yeah. If the toddler wasn't waking up during potty training, I probably would have a little bit more, but I got to make sure that I can coherently get him to the bed after he wets himself in the middle of the night, because potty training is no-ho. But let's talk a little bit about this whiskey. So it's aged no less than 18 months, right? So you're putting, you have some younger distillate. I'm sure there's some older distillate in there to balance it out. What's it been like to create the product that you all ended up with in bottle?
I'll take that. I mean, Brian reached out to me and said, I got some liquid that I think we really need to try. Like, it's hard to get whiskey. Like, we really need to try this. And I remember he said it's 115 proof. He sent a picture. I was like, we're about to die. Like, we're like, this is going to taste horrible. Rubbing alcohol. I remember when I went to my coffee shop after hours. I said, and we tried it. And I said, you know what? It's not bad. Let me try some more. And I took some more, and I'm like, this is 115 proof? He said, yeah. I'm like, isn't this smooth? He goes, yep, and it's going to go down to 88. It's going to be even smoother. And I said, we got something here. And then we had a few of the fellows who are investors and friends that happened to be there at the same time. I gave them a little heads up. And tell you what, everyone left that place smiling. Brian can expand on that a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. The process wasn't one overnight. We tried, several different samples, and we didn't start with Kentucky. We were, there was some times when we were just starting this project, we weren't sure where we were going to go to get the liquid, where we were going to bottle, and that's where I really wish that in the beginning, when I was sending some Eric some pictures, but we were in some spots and thinking that we might have to hand label and bottle and do this, this grind like a lot of startups do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I keep saying, going back to the Bardstown, like the fact that we got to partner with them has been a blessing. But it was important for me, being in the industry, that we would put that I'm going to taste a lot of my friends. I've been doing it for this, like I said, for a long time. And I have some friends, as you guys know, within this, the beauty of this industry is that a lot of people where you come across, whether it be customers, people like yourselves, or people that are working at the establishments, they become your friends. Like, if I can go if I've traveled now to Texas, I know who to call if I need to go out to dinner or visit someone's bar. So it was very important for me that we put a quality liquid in that bottle. Something that we both be proud of. And then obviously putting Eric's name on the bottle, it made it even amplified, because if we're going to put his name on the bottle, it's got to be true representative of not only who he is, but it's got to be quality.
Yeah. And I mean, I will say, like, whatever, people will be like, oh, we're going to play bingo with this game, because how many times did Eric say smooth on the podcast? But it's an easy sipper, right? It goes down super smooth. I think it goes down super easy. It's full of flavor. And so, Scott, I know you've been the color commentary, but you've been awful quiet because I've been very passionate about this. So
I figured that's how it would go. I mean,
he's just chilling over, letting you go.
Just sipping the whiskey. No, yeah. I'm kind of interested too, because I came from a coffee background. In college, I was actually a barista, so I'm a recovering barista now. But I always find myself going back to the training and like the tastings and the experiences that I had when I was tasting coffee. I mean, all the time. So I always find like the parallels between like coffee and whiskey. Did you find that was helpful or beneficial in kind of developing your palate for whiskey?
Yeah, it's actually funny. Brian, that really helped me out, I always say, on this whiskey side, because he was, a veteran in this game, legend. And with the coffee, I was more by myself, like trying to get this together. Yes, I had a marketing guy, John, behind me. I had my friend Nicole, who helps on pretty much all the behind the scenes stuff. But we were very bootstrapped, and I hired a company and had them come out and train my baristas. I did all my interviews to hire the first people. Getting the brick and mortar built was that was a process, and inflation and supply chain issues. So it was rough. And then, but once you opened that door May 14th of last year, it was just a celebration. And then when I pivoted over to the whiskey with Brian, I was kind of more learning. I was the learner. Brian was teaching me on our calls on a daily basis and what to look out for, what to do, be patient, don't rush this. And, he gave me the education, which I thought was awesome, what we needed for the business to grow.
Very cool. While we're talking about that sniffer of yours over there, as you take that wee Glencairn to your nose, and yes, Scott uses a wee Glencairn, not a full size one for tastings anymore, because he's a wee little man. He's like Zacchaeus over here.
This means I have to refill it more frequently.
So Scott, always kick it over to you. I think this kind of has a nose that's right up your alley.
Yeah, I mean it's Kentucky bourbon. I definitely get that corn and vanilla note, and then with this one, it's kind of like. It's kind of like white fruit. I don't know, like apples or pears. It's kind of like fruity as well. But then there is like this lingering spice that kind of like hits you in the back of the nose, like tingles the nose.
I was waiting for that, Scott. I was waiting for that. You said the spice. Yep.
Yeah. I don't, it's like just, it just kind of lingers in the background. You get that sweetness up front, which is what I expect from bourbon. That's why I'm not a rye whiskey drinker. I like bourbon, and the spice is kind of a nice little touch to it, kind of like when we're cooking. But
I think you nailed it. It's crazy for us. It drinks like a classic bourbon. It was important for us just to give you an idea of. We obviously have future plans to come out with like line extensions and do some other fun things which you can do in the whiskey game. But the very first mark in the everyday bourbon, we wanted to make it affordable, so people can go out there and can turn it into their everyday drinking whiskey. So that's where I think you get like I said, it's like a classic bourbon. It's got a slight oakiness. You get a little bit of vanilla. If you can drink it, neat, rocks, but it'll hold up with if you're going to put it into a cocktail, because we got to go take care of those legal drinking age guys and girls over at Rutgers.
Yeah. So
we just got to mix well. That's very important.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things that I like on this is the breadiness, and there's like a little bit of like milk chocolate that shows up in the nose after it's been opened up for a little bit, which makes it super approachable. Definitely the white fruit. I would have said pear, apple, orchard, something. And not like a Honeycrisp, not like a super sweet apple or a super sweet pear. It's like kind of like a Fuji or a Gala, one of the ones that's like 99 cents at Kroger versus the $2 apples. And the palate, like this is the one thing, like is from me to you all, right? Like people are going to be like, 88 proof. That ain't shit. Blah, 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 blah. And the curmudgeons of whiskey, right? That's what I like to call them now. Just the curmudgeons. Not everything has to be high proof. And you could probably look at cells, which Brian, I'm sure you have, that says like, hey, there's probably the majority of people that drink lower proof whiskey anyway. And so, for me, that's what I like. This is a nice session whiskey, session bourbon. You can have multiple of them. You can feel fine. You can enjoy it with your friends, and you're not going to be like, one and I'm done. I can't try anything else tonight. Like it's just, this has good flavor, but it's less proofy.
No, for sure. And like, like I learned, my days over at Beam, my go-to bourbon when I was there was I'd go for Basil Hayden, and that, obviously that being, 80, which that would, if you came out with an 80, that's, you're right. They rip you like in every little report or whatever. But I enjoyed it. I was my go-to bourbon at the time, but I knew that we didn't want to come out with something too high proof, because we wanted it to be something where people can enjoy throughout the evening and or a day or whatever you're drinking responsibly, obviously. But we wanted it to be your go-to bourbon. We didn't want. My biggest thing was I didn't want it from a marketing standpoint. We knew people would show love to Eric, and especially in the state of New Jersey and tied to Rutgers, or people that have heard his story or even come across his path. We knew people would show love and support and buy one bottle, but obviously we're not in the business to sell one bottle to each individual. We want this to be your go-to, and we thought 88 proof was the right number for that.
Mm.
And to add on that, it shows, the amount of people now that have reordered and continue to take pictures and send it our ways, and whether if it's on our Instagram page, DMs at LeGrand Whiskey, or it's my page, Brian's pages, we're always getting tagged in multiple posts a day of people drinking the whiskey and saying like, "This, Eric, you're gonna make me go broke. I keep on buying more bottles and more bottles. Everyone has to try it." I'm like, "Hey, it's good stuff." I'm just saying.
Yeah. No, I think that's good.
Trust me, all the people that all my friends or supporters that come across that we're drinking the proper at 80, trust me, they're feeling that 88 when I start making them do some shots.
Oh man, that's crazy. No, but I mean, it's good. It's so cool to just see the love, because you can feel it, right? That's what this community is all about. The community is about for the 99 percentile, right? It's about good people doing good things for each other and having the opportunity to give back to the charity, having a good whiskey that multiple people can approach and enjoy. I think, what better than that, right? Than to be able to tell that story and have that conversation.
Yeah, it is. It's very cool. And so many people have different stories and backgrounds on how they came across bourbon. What I liked it, we were doing an appearance one day at Joe Canals in Woodbridge here in my hometown. And this couple came in and they were telling us how they did a whole tour out in Ireland and stuff like that in Scotland and find all these different whiskeys. And now they couldn't wait to get their hands on ours when they got back to the States and came, showed love. And then I saw them the next day at the New Jersey Devils game. And they came right up to me and they're like, "We tried it last night. It's amazing, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, see, that's love.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know jack squat about hockey, so I can't really comment on like how awesome hockey games are, other than like when someone gets smashed up against the glass, it's pretty cool. Other than that,
Actually pretty.
I think hockey is very fast, and my slow brain that is a football player cannot keep up.
Yeah, I'm so good.
It's like football players on ice.
Yeah, Brian is the hockey guy.
Their whiskey too.
And I'm learning. I'm all in, but I'm starting to learn the adjustments these teams are making. I've watched so much hockey this year. I know, like first line,
second line. Could you imagine doing those line changes in football?
Yeah, they change like every minute. It's like somebody's going off because they're going full balls to the wall, smacking people. And you can only go for like a minute and a half. And next thing you know, this guy's coming in. I'm like, no, they did it too fast. We got it down. They can't get back in time. I'm over here. I feel like I'm an expert. I probably don't even know what I'm talking about. But
football, they're trying to count 11. Yeah, football, they're trying to count 11, and hockey, it's like, well, whatever.
So I think his name was Chara. He was like 6'7" and like
Chara, of course.
Zdeno Chara,
yeah, like 220.
He was
like
huge.
He's a monster.
Like, could you imagine? Like that's like Julius Peppers coming off the edge on skates. Like,
I know. I always say if I played hockey, I know they kind of cleaned it up, Ryan, with no more.
Yeah.
But they took the goons away from hockey and the ones that are just going out there to bash people. I'm saying if I ever played hockey, coach, I got you. Just let me go full speed into somebody.
Give you the Mighty Ducks vibes.
Hey, the flying V, baby.
Hey,
let's go.
The Bash Bros. Oh man. No, I mean it's crazy. Hockey's crazy, and the only sport crazier than both of them is rugby. And you just got to be a real man with a loose screw to, or woman. Women play rugby too. You have to have a loose screw to play that sport. Like that is football that you can get clotheslined in with no nothing.
They got no pads, no helmets, no nothing.
Oh yeah. So
like no scrum, getting faces stepped on and whatnot.
Nah.
I mean, I like football and rugby, but yeah, let me get my pads at least, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. And that's why, you know what? Every athlete probably needs a nice sipping whiskey that they can enjoy after a hard day's work on the field. And this looks like LeGrand bourbon could be a good product to have nearby if I were to be a marketing person.
Don't worry, we got some stuff coming up in the chambers just for that. Can't announce it yet, but
yeah,
we're going to have some fun.
No, but that's awesome. I mean, like this is cool because there's so many possibilities and what people love that, just in general, they love a comeback story and they love football, right? So having both of those in one person, I mean, come on. It makes too much sense.
Tailgates will be a good time this year at colleges across New Jersey and hopefully across the state in some time.
There we go. No, that's awesome. So it would be remiss, to finish this off if we didn't talk a little bit about where can people find out more about the whiskey? How many states is it located in? So if y'all could share that with the listeners.
Yeah, so I'll take it and let Eric finish up. But yeah, we were right now. It was very important for us to launch. I'm from New Jersey, but more importantly, Eric's home state, where he's. That's why I wanted to jump in here. Is where he's a legend, where he's. This is his state, so it was important for us to launch in New Jersey, and then since it's just really him and I, just to go give this state our full attention. Whether it be the liquor store chains, the independents, or the on-premise accounts, we have obviously a big announcement coming up with university. You guys can figure out what we're talking about. So we're in no rush. We're not here to turn this into an overnight success. I told Eric when we were trying to we were talking about what we're going to call this product. Eric, sent me some. I don't know if he wants to say it. He sent me some crazy names, and I was like, brother, we are calling this Eric LeGrand Bourbon Whiskey, whatever. We're putting your name on there. There's some iconic names tied to liquor brands, specifically in the whiskey category, whether it be a Jack Daniel's, Elijah Craig, Jim Beam, and so on and so on. I'm like, your name's going to live amongst the greats. So we're going to, and plus his last name is pretty badass if we don't agree. So it's important that, listen, we're not every day is promised, and obviously we're not going to be on this earth forever, but that bottle is going to live on with Eric's name, Eric's story, and then obviously that and the charity as well. So that was important for us to not only give the home state some love, but also then we're like, wait, we're from Kentucky. There's a lot of bars, and even in Bardstown, they have a restaurant on property that serves bourbon. So we're like, let's just launch the state of Kentucky as well and pay homage to where we're from. So right now we're just available in the states in New Jersey, Kentucky, and then obviously online where it's legal to ship.
Sounds like a brand that we talked about earlier. Where can people find out more about the brand and what's happening with LeGrand Bourbon?
Go to ericlegrandwhiskey.com, or you can follow us on social media, LeGrand Whiskey. We're very active on our social media platforms. Between Brian and I as well, we're always posting daily about what we have coming up and different events. So people want to check it out, go online, ericlegrandwhiskey.com, and get a bottle. Or if you're in New Jersey, got a store locator on there too. So focus on that.
No, that's awesome. And I will second them on saying that they are very active. We posted our article when we found out that the bottle was going live. Eric, Brian, the whole team. And next thing you know, it was probably one of our most viral tweets that we've had here in 2023. So they will get the word out quick, and they have people that know people that know people. So
I love that phrase.
Yeah. It's kind of like the Kevin Bacon, right, of New Jersey. That's what happens with Eric. 6 degrees of separation. You can get to anybody in New Jersey with Eric.
And to know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody,
hey,
right?
Yeah.
Brian knows how it goes.
No. Well, hey, guys, I truly appreciate it. This is amazing. Eric, you're an inspiration to us all. And I'm glad that you teamed up with Brian to make something like this happen. Like it's absolutely amazing. And, I'm going to raise my glass to future success for you guys. Can't wait to see what you all have in store. We really appreciate it for joining tonight.
Much love to you guys. We appreciate the opportunity to come on here and explore a new adventure. And I can't wait to see you guys down the road.
Awesome. Yeah. When you all come to Kentucky next, you just let us know. We'll meet up.
Yeah. Come visit us. We'll head to the distillery. We'll toast when we see you meet in person for sure.
Yeah. No, that's great. Well, thanks everybody for listening to this episode of the Bourbon Lens. We truly appreciate our guest. If you want to know more about Bourbon Lens, go over to Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Bourbon Lens. If you want to join our growing Patreon community, go over to patreon.com/Bourbon Lens. And last but not least, if you do us a favor, go to your favorite podcast listening app, hit subscribe, and leave a comment. We'd greatly appreciate it. And until next time, cheers.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.